So I've sold over 100 homes in the last 4 years, and in this video, I'm gonna give you my best pieces of advice for buying a home in the Atlanta area. And that's coming up right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living in Atlanta, the YouTube channel designed to help you get to know what it's like to live in the Atlanta area. My name is Mark Brenner, and today I am going to give you some of my best pieces of advice if you're planning to purchase a home in the Atlanta area or really anywhere in the country. This advice will be very relevant for you and hopefully help you have a buying experience with as little stress as possible. So let's get right into it. My advice for buying a home in Atlanta. Hey, real quick, if you are looking to purchase a home in the Atlanta area, I would love to hear from you. You can book a Zoom call with me, call me, text me, whatever you want to do. But I've been a realtor in Atlanta for 5 years now. I have a lot of experience helping people relocate here from out of state, and I love it when my viewers become clients. So if you're interested in having a professional help you through this process with a lot of experience, reach out to me today. All right, so I've got 5 key pieces of advice for you today. Of course, there's other important information throughout this process, but after helping over 100 families buy or sell homes in the Atlanta area, these are the most common things I've seen that cause stress and cause regret. So I think if you can go through these items and prepare for them, you're going to be much better set up to have a stress-free or at least as little stress as possible situation when buying a home. Now, the first piece of advice I have for you is backup plan required, okay? Now, this is gonna depend on your situation. I work with a lot of clients moving here from another state, people who have to sell a home to then buy a home. You need a backup plan. Of course, if you're selling a home to buy, the ideal would be to be able to sell your home and have your new home move into immediately with no delay or overlap. However, that doesn't always happen. And similar situation if you're renting. If you have a lease that is coming to an end and you have a hard date where you need to be out of your residence, you need to have a backup plan, whether that's staying with friends or family in the area, whether it's renting out an Airbnb or a short-term rental for a little while. But you don't only want to rely on the possibility that you'll have your new home that you love under contract and ready to move into. And it's really important you understand leverage in the buying process, because if you don't have a backup plan, you don't have as much leverage. If your back is up against a wall because you're in the process of selling, you have to be out of the home, and you need a place to live by a certain date, you are way more likely to say yes to what the seller is offering, even if it's not something that you want. You're more likely to just not have leverage in those negotiating scenarios. If you have a backup plan, if your back's not against a wall, you're okay if this deal doesn't work out. You want it to, but it wouldn't be the end of the world because you don't have a life situation that is forcing you to say yes to what is going on. So leverage is hugely important when you're buying or selling a home. And the way that you give yourself as much leverage as possible is, as a buyer, is to have a backup plan, to have a plan for living if your current one is going away, and to be able to pass on a property if you can't negotiate properly with them or if they're just not meeting your expectations. When you have this sort of take it or leave it mentality throughout the process, you're gonna get a way better deal at the end of the day. Tip number 2 is it's not a conspiracy. Now, this is often the largest financial purchase for a person in their entire life. And so when they see a home that's been on the market for a while, for instance, they ask themselves, well, what's wrong with that home? It must be that the foundation is messed up or there's something awful with it. The reality is, if a home's been on the market 9 times out of 10, it's just because it was overpriced to start. When you're going through the negotiation process and something comes up in an inspection that maybe wasn't disclosed on the seller's disclosure. I have a lot of clients, this is very common for my buyer clients, especially the first-time home buyers. They think the seller is really trying to get one over on them. They think they're trying to take advantage of them, and a lot of buyer clients just come from this place of thinking very negatively. And I understand this. This is a natural instinct to protect yourself in a huge financial purchase so that you don't get screwed. So it makes perfect sense. Here's what I'll tell you though, in my experience as a realtor, it's almost never a conspiracy. Most sellers are like yourselves. They want to do the right thing. They want to be honest. Of course, those scenarios can come up when sellers are less honest, but not every little thing that you see is indicative of a large larger problem when you're going through this process. And although I would encourage you to ask questions of your realtor and make sure you understand why things the way they are, don't necessarily assume it's for nefarious reasons. Oftentimes, when people have this mindset, it can create tension in the negotiations and actually reduce the likelihood of the deal getting done. So by all means, you have to do serious due diligence. Your agent and your team of inspectors should be looking through every aspect of the home to make sure that your asset is secured and you're not buying into a money pit. But that being said, you don't have to act like the seller is your enemy or your opposition. The majority of sellers want to do the right thing and have integrity. So my advice for you here is work with an experienced realtor who can help you understand the difference between a significant potential problem and some small insignificant event or issue that can be easily smoothed over, okay? Not everything is a conspiracy. Tip number 3 is there's no dream home. Now listen, of course, I understand people do fall in love with homes, and certainly some people find their forever home that they're going to retire in, never move out of, but statistically speaking, you and your family are going to be moving every 5 to 7 years. So it's extremely important that you look at this process from an investment perspective, in addition to just needing a home to live in that you enjoy in a location that you enjoy. Again, this is typically one of your biggest financial transactions in your life. You really need to look at it from an investment perspective like you would in any other investment that you make. So what does that mean? Well, it means a couple things. Number one, if you fall in love with a house, but you can't get it under contract, you lose out, or if you get it under contract and it falls through, it's okay. I know you were in love with that house, but I promise you there will be another house that you fall even more in love with, okay? Things really do have a way of working out for a reason. And again, going back to leverage, if you fall in love with a house that you have to have, you're giving all your leverage away to the seller because you're gonna say yes and amen to everything they're proposing. If you go into this process with more of an investment mindset, you're not going to be as bummed out if a deal falls through or if you don't get an offer accepted. Now, from an investment perspective, you really need to be concerned with buying something that's well within your budget, monthly payment wise, and also in a location that's growing and is an area that will appreciate, one that you will be able to sell your house easily when the time comes. And of course, making sure you get it at a reasonable price, at a price that is in line with other sold comps in the immediate area. Having this framework is going to take some of the emotions out of the process and help you and your agent be a better negotiator and end up getting you a better deal. And in 5 to 7 years, when life takes an unexpected turn and you've got a new job or you need to move to a new state or you just want to upsize or downsize, you're going to be able to more easily sell that home for a profit and move into the next best home. Homes have been glamorized because shelter is very important to us and people have very romanticized ideas of what a dream home is. I would encourage you to have a different perspective. There are many homes that can work for your needs, that can check all of the boxes in your buy box, and you will grow into love that house. And worst case, if you don't grow into loving the house, if you made a smart financial investment, you really shouldn't have much difficulty selling it for a profit and finding the next thing. But I would really encourage you to try to reduce the level of romanticism in buying a house and really look at it like an investment, purchasing within your budget in an area that makes sense, in a home that's in line with the comparable sales. This will help you have way more leverage throughout the process and make a better decision. All right, my fourth piece of advice I have written down here in quotes, little bit of a project. This is very common for my buyer clients. You know, they send me properties that I know are not going to work. They're just too rough. Listen, here's a side note. If you're looking at properties in the MLS and you see any kind of damage or anything looking rough in the photos, it's going to look 5 to 10 times worse at the actual house when you go visit. So just keep that in mind. But all that to say, I would really discourage you from getting into a major rehab project, especially if you're moving here from another state. People often have an idea in their head that they want to get a rehab because it'll be a better value for them. They'll be able to buy at a lower price, do the renovations themselves the way that they want them, and have a finished product that is better than what they could have hoped for. And that does make sense, but what you're not factoring in is, especially if you're moving from another state, all the stress that goes into moving across the country or just moving in general, getting set up in your new house, and then coordinating contractors for all the different things you're going to have to do that probably will delay your ability to move into the house. You've got to come up with a scope of work and find the contractors and subcontractors for all that work. And then you've got to figure out if it can be done prior to you moving in the house, or if you're going to be living in the house with major renovations going on. I can tell you from experience that is very stressful. So I'm not telling you to never buy a fixer-upper, especially if you have experience in this arena. Maybe you're a contractor, maybe you have a lot of experience buying or selling homes, okay? That could totally be a possibility. But for the average person, you don't want to get into a major renovation, okay? Now, some cosmetic renovation, of course. If you want to change out the carpet for hardwood, that's not a big deal. If you want to change out the countertop in the kitchen, no biggie. But when you're talking about changing out the flooring throughout the entire home, you're talking about renovating all the bathrooms with new vanities and flooring and tile, when you're talking about a full kitchen renovation, primary bedroom and primary bathroom renovation, you would be shocked how quickly you're going to be running up a tab of 6 figures plus. $100,000 or more is not difficult to run into in a full house renovation. And again, you might be ready for that. That might be what you want to do. But I really typically try to steer clients to something that is way more move-in ready, something that you can live in currently and not feel like you're in a dirty, damaged home. And, if there's some small cosmetic renovations, that's great. That can put money back in your pocket when it's time to sell. But this is a very, very common thing I deal with clients. And so I would just gently discourage you from looking at major rehabs. Unless you've got experience in this arena, or unless you live in the area and you have contacts with all the contractors that you trust, I would not get into a major rehab. And a lot of the properties that you're going to see, if you see damage in drywall, if you see damaged flooring, damaged windows, the house is going to look like a wreck, and I guarantee you it needs 6 figures or more of work. So be careful of getting into a big rehab. All right, and my 5th and final piece of advice for buying a home in Atlanta is you can't time the market. Listen, please hear me. I've been selling real estate since 2018. I've been having the same conversations for 5 years. Prices are crazy. I'm going to wait out the market. I'm going to wait for the crash. I'm going to wait for prices to come down. I'm going to wait for interest rates to come down. Those people always end up on the sidelines while other people pull the trigger and cash in on the incredible appreciation that's going on in Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the fastest growing metros in the country. And I'm telling you, the people who bought years ago when I was having those conversations have literally made 6 figures or more in equity in their home in just a few years. And not just one. I can think of many, many people for whom that's the case. So here's how I would encourage you to think about it. You need a place to live, right? You need shelter. Now you've got 2 options. You can rent a home and basically pay 100% interest, right? That's what you're doing when you're renting. None of your money is going towards a principal down payment. You don't own anything. And so you are essentially paying 100% interest. Now you do have the flexibility to move more easily without being tied down to a sale and the expenses that go along with that. But the fact remains your payment is 100% interest. Or you could purchase a home within your budget and really benefit from the appreciation from how quickly Atlanta is growing. Listen, outside of some life situation that would put your search on pause, I can't really think of a valid reason for you not to purchase real estate as soon as you're financially able. Now, of course, the major caveat there is you really want to make sure your monthly payment is well within your budget, your affordability, okay? If the market did do a major downturn, it's really not a big deal if your home is technically worth less than what you paid for it. But it is a big deal if you lose your job and you're struggling to make the payment. So I always like to tell people who are nervous about this, think about a monthly payment that even if you got fired, you could get another similar job and be able to cover that payment without too much stress. If you find a payment in that amount, that's a very conservative fiscal decision. But if you're worried about the interest rates being in the high 6s, low 7s right now, I've got news for you. What do you think is going to happen if the rates dropped down to 4 or 3 or under 3%? What do you think would happen? The prices would skyrocket. They were skyrocketing in 21 and 22, and the only reason prices have not skyrocketed as much right now is because of the higher interest rates. It's literally holding the floodgates back. Now, listen to me. I can tell you from personal experience, helping mostly buyers in 21 and 22. It was an extremely stressful process. We got it done. We had our successes and wins, but you're talking about putting 2, 3, 4, 5 offers in before getting one accepted. You're talking about highest and best, multiple offers, waiving contingencies of all kinds. I mean, it was a bloodbath when the interest rates were at rock bottom because so many people were now in the market to buy a home because of how low the interest rates were. Okay, so as interest rates go up, prices are going to level off, and as interest rates come down, prices are going to shoot up. So there's no perfect time to even try to time the market. And the reality is, with the interest rates the way they are right now, if you purchase at a 7% and the rates come down and you refinance, you are now well within your monthly payment budget. Okay, so that makes it a very fiscally conservative decision to purchase a home you can afford at a higher interest rate. The interest rates come down, you refinance, and guess what? Your payment is so easy for you to afford in that situation. So listen to me when I tell you, from now to the end of time, there will be someone predicting a real estate market crash all across the country. You're always going to be able to find a YouTube video or an article explaining to you why the real estate market is going to crash. The main reason for the market crash in 2008 was mortgage fraud. There have been a lot of laws to change the mortgage side of the industry. If you've refinanced your home lately, you know how difficult it can be. But Atlanta is not going to stop growing. You need a place for shelter, a place to live, and you can either choose to pay 100% interest or just buy what you can afford and start taking advantage of the tax benefits of owning a home and of the incredible appreciation that you're going to get in the Atlanta metro area. So there you have it, 5 tips for buying a home in the Atlanta area. Just to recap for you, a backup plan is required for your living space. It's not always a conspiracy when you're negotiating with sellers. There is no dream home. This is an investment for you. Little bit of a project is probably going to be a big headache. And you cannot time the market. Purchase something within your budget as soon as you possibly can. If you take those 5 pieces of advice to heart and plan your purchase accordingly, I guarantee you, you're going to have a way less stressful and way more effective home buying process. So I really hope that helped. I hope you feel empowered. I hope that provided you value. Like I said, I honestly have probably helped more people relocate here from out of state than any other realtor in the area at this point. So if you would like to work together, I am available. Book a Zoom call with me, call me, email me, whatever you want to do. But thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe. It's a great free way to support my channel. Comment below if there's a topic you want to see me talk about. And until my next video, I'll see you next time.